Good morning and welcome to today's professional development titled Supporting Students with IEPs. So we're going to go ahead and get started right away. So as an educator in many classrooms across America, we know that students are going to enter our classrooms with a learning disability. We may not know what that learning disability is right off the bat, but as educators, we need the guidance and support to identify areas of concerns or struggles and provide our students with the special care and understanding that they need. So if a student is struggling, if a student needs additional help, if a student requires more than the classroom teacher can provide, a student can possibly qualify for an IEP. So today we will discuss the importance and helpful tools that can be useful for those in need. So many educators have heard of an IEP, but what exactly does an IEP consist of? So an IEP will serve as a roadmap to meet the unique needs of students with a disability. So what does that look like in the classroom? What kind of information are you going to gain as the audience today? So supporting students with IEPs, a job-embedded professional development session is what you're here for today. So during today's presentation, you will become a better equipped teacher with strategies to effectively support students with IEPs. You will gain a deeper understanding of the legal responsibilities and requirements that are tied to IEPs, as well as gaining practical strategies and collaboration techniques that foster student achievement and long-term success. Okay, before we move any further, can I just get a show of hands as to how many teachers that are here today that have experience with IEPs or have a student who has an IEP? Okay, I see you there in the back. So as educators, we are uniquely trained to recognize when a student benefits from additional support or maybe an evaluation for special educational services can take place. So what an IEP is an individualized education program. So an IEP is a written legal document or a plan that is specifically designed and tailored to a child's current level of performance and learning goals. So this plan supports and addresses the individual needs of students with disabilities to help them succeed through their academic journey. Okay, so you will notice at different schools or at different districts, some of the procedures might be a little bit different. Their protocols are different. Sometimes the principal can come in and create the evaluation themselves. Sometimes new students coming in actually enter the class with previous documentation or IEP plans that have already been implemented through previous schools. So if you are unsure of who you should consult with or unsure if a child is kind of meeting the requirements or needs that additional assistance, it's always important that you contact your administration. Sometimes that could be your principal, sometimes that could be somebody at the district, but somebody that has a little bit more knowledge or experience, or if you know that your coworker already has students who are on an IEP plan, maybe reaching out to them could be the first step. Hey, I noticed that you have 2 kiddos who have an IEP plan. Is that something that you created? Who do I get to talk to gain a little bit more understanding and more information on how to best suit the child? So it's an important initial step in the process is to first talk to your admin, figure out who it is that you're going to be speaking to say, hey, I see that this child might need some more strategies, need some more help. Who do I get to talk to help? So it's important that once we make that initial step into contacting our admin, we're also contacting the guardians. We want to make sure that we're providing parents with the notification of, hey, I'm recognizing that your child is struggling or might need support here. So with the help of my team, we're going to come together and figure out what steps we need to create the IEP plan. So this ensures that there's transparency across the board. We want to make sure that parents understand what is leading up to it. So you want to be sure as the teacher you're collecting data. If students are unable to complete assignments, if students are testing low, if you recognize that, this child can't access their computers properly or do their online testing, we're going to need to make sure that whatever's hindering that child from the most success that they could have in the classroom, we recognize that and we're letting the parents know, hey, I'm seeing some concerning issues, some things that are hindering your child from learning. So we want to make sure that we're being transparent, and that way parents are easily and more encouraged to kind of get on board and say, you know what, yeah, I'm recognizing that too. It might be a new student and the parents might share, we've had these difficulties back at our previous school and we had an IEP plan. Maybe the parents don't recognize that that's something that should be shared. There's a lot of different avenues into how that will come together. So next, the big question is, who can qualify for an IEP? A child who is identified as possibly needing special education and related services. A written or verbal referral or request for evaluation is provided by school professionals. Parent consent is needed prior to the evaluation. The child is then evaluated in the areas related to the suspected disability. And then from there, eligibility is decided and the results are utilized to make decisions about the educational programs and services that will best meet the child's academic needs. And so now we will watch a short video on how to properly create an IEP.
Individual Education Plan, IEP, is a crucial process for supporting children with learning disabilities or special education needs. This plan ensures that every student receives the tailored support they need to succeed in the classroom. In this video, we'll walk through the key steps to create an IEP that is both effective and meaningful. Step 1. Understand the legal framework. First, it's important to understand that an IEP is not just a document, but a legal requirement. Under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, schools are mandated to create IEPs for students who qualify for special education services. This means the IEP process must be thorough, collaborative, and compliant with the law. Step 2. Gather information and assess the child's needs. Before creating an IEP, gather all the assessment data on the child. This includes academic assessments, teacher observations, medical evaluations, and any previous IEPs or reports. These data points help you understand the child's strengths, weaknesses, and unique needs. Involve parents in this step to gather important insights about their child's home environment, preferences, and concerns. Understanding the whole child, both academically and socially, ensures that the IEP is comprehensive and truly supportive. Step 3. Set SMART goals. The heart of any IEP is the goals. These are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. SMART. Goals should be personalized to each child's needs and should target areas where the child needs the most support. For example, instead of a vague goal like improve reading, a SMART goal would be read 50 words per minute by the end of the semester with 90% accuracy. Each goal should have clear objectives and be tied to the child's overall academic, social, or behavioral development. This makes progress easy to track and adjust as needed. Step 4. Identify the services and supports needed. Next, identify the services and accommodations that the child needs to reach these goals. This might include specialized instruction, like reading interventions and speech therapy, accommodations, like extra time on tests or seating arrangements, assistive technology like text-to-speech software, and behavioral supports like counseling or social skills groups. Be sure to specify how often and where these services will take place, whether in the general education classroom, a resource room, or through pull-out services. Step 5. Develop a plan for monitoring progress. An IEP isn't static. It's important to establish a clear plan for tracking progress. This includes determining how progress will be measured, for example, through tests, teacher observations, work samples, and how frequently the child's goals will be reviewed. Regular meetings with parents, teachers, and special education staff ensure that everyone stays on the same page about the child's progress and any adjustments needed. Step 6. Communicate and collaborate with the team. Creating an IEP is a team effort. Teachers, special educators, school administrators, and parents should all work together to develop a plan that best supports the child. Involving the child, when appropriate, helps them understand their goals and take ownership of their learning. Communication is key. Be sure to set regular check-ins to keep parents informed and to review how all the strategies and services are working. Step 7. Review and revise the IEP. Finally, the IEP should be reviewed at least annually to ensure it's still meeting the child's needs. If the child is making progress in meeting their goals, the IEP can be updated with new objectives. If not, it's time to revise the plan to better support the child. Remember that the IEP should evolve with the child's development. It's a living document designed to support the child's educational journey. Twinkle's editable IEP template. If you're looking for an easy-to-use template to create your own IEPs, Twinkle offers a customizable and editable IEP template that makes the process even more streamlined. It includes all the key sections, like goals, services, and progress monitoring, so you can personalize it to suit each child's needs. With this resource, you'll be able to create an IEP that helps your students not only meet their goals, but thrive in the classroom. Thanks for joining us. For more information and resources related to IEPs, head to twinkle.com.
The IEP snapshot you see here on the screen is a handout that you'll be getting just in a few moments. As we kind of wrap up here, we'll pull out the IEP snapshots and you guys will be able to take a look at what kind of information is included on this. There's a list of accommodations, testing accommodations, potential services, goals and objectives for reading, writing, math, and social, emotional, and behavioral learning. So this form is just a snapshot, but it kind of gives us an overall understanding and insight as to how best support your learner with the assistance from an IEP. So as an educator, we do have some legal and ethical responsibilities that we must follow. First of all, we do understand that every child does have legal rights and is entitled by law to a free and appropriate public education. That's where the FAPE comes in. It ensures that all eligible children with disabilities are receiving that free education that is appropriate and meeting the needs of students. So as educators, we do have the responsibility to ensure that students are receiving the necessary resources, the services, and the support that fosters their academic and personal success. So the IDEA Act is Individuals with Disabilities Education Acts provides special education and related services. It also ensures that parent participation is involved and everyone has access to the information. Now, as teacher and school personnel, it's important that us as teachers are meeting the families to create a plan that's based on the students' needs. We're writing those measurable goals and we're ensuring the plan aligns with the legal standards. So as we saw a lot of information in that video, this is a process, right? So as our child is our student is reaching all of those measurable goals. We want to make sure that we are looking back at this IEP. It's not a solid, firm plan that stops once those goals have been reached. We want to continuously work through and ensure that as that child is progressing and growing and becoming more established and meeting those goals that we have, we're continuously reassessing through data, through assessments, through observations, and we truly are making sure that we are doing whatever we can to help that child build, help that child grow, and help that child on their academic journey. So you all might be wondering why you're here, and thank you for taking the time after school to sit in with me. So we know that great teachers are passionate about their students. You could go ahead and give me a nod or a thumbs up. You know that we're passionate about our students. If we weren't passionate, we definitely possibly would not be here. So we're passionate about how we teach. We're passionate and purposeful about the information and the activities and all the project-based learning and things that we incorporate into our classroom. So we know that great teachers are developed over time through their commitment to learning their students and also the ability to identify students' needs. And most importantly, meeting their needs, right? We want to identify our students' needs and we want to do whatever we can in our power to ensure that those students are also we're meeting those needs. So ongoing professional development just provides us as teachers with the opportunity to learn new strategies and different practices that can be implemented into our classroom. So these experiences not only enhance our instructional and effectiveness in the classroom, but it's also helped building our confidence in the teachers that we are today. Because I know that I'm not the same teacher I am today as I was day one, however many years ago. And I could agree, and you probably could agree also, right? You're not the same teacher that walked in to teach students 10 years ago versus who you are today. So supporting students with IEP. So every child deserves the support from those in their immediate environment. So it could be their classroom environment, it could be their home environment. So regardless of any sort of learning disabilities, in learning differences, we want to make sure that that child feels supported. So as educators, we want to foster an inclusive environment that is built on acceptance and respect for all of our learners, all of their abilities, all of their skills, all of their strengths, all of their weaknesses, whatever type of baggage that these children are coming with. We want to kind of have open arms and embrace them and accept them for who they are first. And then we can identify how we can best support these students. We want to make sure that we're empowering our students and giving them the opportunity to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. So we want equity for all learners despite any of their disabilities. So like all educators, and we have all been there, right? We're gonna face challenges when it comes to teaching children. We're gonna lose our patience, we're gonna lose our cool, we're gonna have an off day, but one common challenge is effectively incorporating the accommodations that are outlined in a student's IEP. So some challenges that we might face are the ability to balance IEP accommodations with the whole class instruction. It's tough. You are one of one. Depending on how big or small your class size is, it's still just you facing all of these students, meeting all of these students' needs, whatever those needs might be, okay? Sometimes we have a lack of support. Maybe we don't have somebody who can come in and help us when we need it, okay? So sometimes it could even be managing our time and resources. We do not have the time to make all of those accommodations. We might be pressed for resources. We might not have those resources that we need. So we want to be sure, though, that we're providing differentiation in lessons and activities that are effective for the learner. And we want to navigate effective community with families and support staff to ensure the student's success. So if we're not able to make those accommodations that we might need, maybe your kiddo needs a little bit more support at home. Maybe your kiddo can benefit from reviewing the material, whatever the case may be. We want to make sure that while we're trying to meet those accommodations, We're also keeping those families on board. We're including those families in those communication opportunities to figure out where and how we can best support and help our students. So as educators, we're going to need a variety of strategies in our belt, right, to effectively support our students with IEPs. We're like Mary Poppins with our little bag of tricks, right? We're going to need a variety of different tools that are going to help us meet that child where they are. So instructional strategies for supporting students with IEPs might be an opportunity to provide students with differentiated instruction. We heard in the video, utilizing visual supports, graphic organizers, scaffolding when necessary, providing students with opportunities to collaborate and co-create with peers. You could kind of think about think, pair, share opportunities, more engaging, more hands-on, maybe partnering up one of your stronger kiddos with someone who might need that extra support, Kate. And we also want to follow up with directions if needed. We want to incorporate assistive technology when needed, and we want to monitor the progress with the data needed for those IEP reviews. So as we kind of bring that student into the group, will we start providing that differentiated instruction? When we start making those accommodations or those modifications, we're keeping track, we're gathering that data, we're adding it into their file. That way we can see the growth and the progression of those students' skills, or maybe the lack thereof. What might we need to tweak for the next 6 weeks to ensure that we're meeting those goals and we're hitting those goals that we previously created, right? So some extra strategies for supporting students that we want to follow is we want to think inclusively with their IEP in mind, okay? What strategies do we know this child can benefit from? What kind of activities can we kind of create and lesson plan around that are helping us meet those goals? So we want to incorporate opportunities for interventions. We want to prepare students for upcoming lessons by maybe discussing our learning expectations and establishing also behavioral expectations. A lot of times with IEPs, we'll recognize that one of the first learning differences is behavioral. So we want to kind of meet that student where they are. If we know that a certain activity is going to set off our student, maybe we want to work with them individually first, maybe we want to buddy them up. So we want to check students' performance along the way and provide additional support when needed. So we want to provide learning buddies for that person, budding them up with somebody who is inclusive, who is an includer, and who's going to help get that student to where they need to be. And I feel it shouldn't always be that same person. I'm sure it can be draining for that same person to always be the buddy or the go-to person. So it's kind of nice to have a few kids, 4 or 5 kids that you know who are willing and able to help that child kind of get back on task. So we also want to include families within that planning and implementation to just ensure that overall we truly are creating instructional strategies that are going to help our student, that are going to create an environment where that student is accepted, where that student has the ability to learn and thrive. Collaboration and communication. So when we take an active role in addressing our students' educational needs and building these strong partnerships with families and our support teams, we're creating a foundation for student growth, student achievement, and their long-term success. So we want to work alongside those involved, meeting with the special education teachers, meeting with the aides, meeting with the service providers to discuss progress and additional support that's needed. And we want to build the gap. We want to bridge the gap there, right? We want to build partnerships. So we want to create positive relationships with families that ultimately build a stronger partnership. And it's always with the child's needs at the forefront of why we're doing this. So application for the classroom. So there are a variety of practical tools and resources that are available to help educators gain a clearer understanding of the IEP process. So we want to consider maybe observing an IEP meeting, reviewing sample IEPs that help build knowledge and kind of familiarize ourselves with the progress monitoring procedures. We want to strengthen our practice at all costs, right? We want to have as much exposure, as much experience, as much knowledge as possible. That way, when it comes our turn to create these IEPs, we've already sat in on meetings, we've already studied samples and examples of how best to create and implement these IEP strategies, and we want to utilize the proper and necessary tools to monitor the progress of our students to ensure success. Activity opportunity. So in a few moments here, it's going to be your turn to practice. I could have you guys kind of gather maybe in just 2 groups of 2, or you could mix that up however you see fit. So we want to gather in these small groups and we want to review and practice IEP scenarios and strategies. So looking at the documentation, you want to be able to identify possible challenges and provide a series of solutions that could help overcome. So we want to consider sharing any personal experiences also that you've had during the IEP process, or any insights that you feel can be valuable for group learning. Okay, so we want to gather in small groups for scenarios. I'm going to have you guys review IEP samples and provide strategies, and then also we'll have a chance to reflect and discuss after. So now that we've done this small activity together, some of you guys had some really great insight. I appreciate that. This is kind of new to me too, so I'm gaining a little bit more insight. So today you are going to leave with a variety of tools and resources that can support you in your current workplace. So some of these strategies can easily be implemented, while others may require adjustments to a student's IEP that's already created. It all depends on the individual's needs. So regardless, having access to research-based and effective tools empowers you as the educator to make informed decisions to support your students. So today you're going to be leaving with a blank IEP template. You'll leave with a checklist of possible accommodations and modifications for students based on the professional evaluations. You'll get a handout of various strategies that support students with IEPs. You're going to get a communication log template. You want to make sure that anytime that you're reaching out to parents or you're having that communication, you're documenting that. You want to be sure that you're documenting everything in that student's file. And there's additional resources that are found online that could be helpful. If you guys want to write this down, there's understood.org and then the National Center for Learning Disability. So these are all things that you'll get as you exit today. And last but not least, in a moment, would you mind getting out your cell phones for me and scanning that QR code? And this is a participant feedback survey, and your feedback is much appreciated. It helps me gain more insight into the information that's being shared. Is it effective? Is it relevant? What kind of things can I improve on as a presenter, or what kind of takeaways did you feel were helpful and useful? So you could go ahead and get your phones out and you want to scan that QR code. And I appreciate you coming and supporting and helping me today, and have a great rest of your day.